Pretend this is a rocking chair and I'm knitting and there's like a crackling fire in the background. Hello children, gather round, come sit, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, a young, innocent girl named Liz cleaned out her entire closet and sorted 2 whole paper grocery bags worth of items into an alter/mend/thrift flip pile, which she naively thought she could complete in 1 week. This is the story of her journey. Yeah, this past week I tried to tackle my entire thrift flip pile, and while I can't say that I leveled this entire pile, I did complete 10 different projects. Truly a record-breaking week in Beep World. And half of them don't even require a sewing machine. Also, not to spoil the ending, but the last project was definitely ambitious for me, and it turned out to be truly one of my proudest DIY creations ever. I can't wait to show it to you. But for now, let's backtrack to our very simple first project. Hi friends, today is day 1 of trying to tackle as many thrift flips in my thrift flip pile as I can. And we are going to start with this t-shirt. I actually painted the graphic on this myself, and overall I think it looks pretty good, but I simply think these 3 flowers at the top are kind of ugly. So I'm gonna paint over them. The main thing I didn't like about those flowers was the color. They were like pink, but sort of a dirty brownish pink. It blended in too much with the background, and it just, as they say, wasn't the vibe. So I decided to repaint them blue and paint over the black dot centers. Truthfully, I just kind of mushed around the paint, blended in some white for highlights, blended in some black for shadows, and just kept doing that until I thought it looked right. That's my painting process, baby. It's not probably correct, but it's effective. My next project was this striped tank top. As I have mentioned in other videos, I thrifted this tank top because I loved the stripes and sporty look of it, but I don't love the color scheme. It's too pastel for me, and I thought it would be more my style if the pink stripes were red instead. So I decided to simply color in the pink stripes with a red fabric marker. I did test it on the inside first, and I mean, as you can see, it worked flawlessly, and then I just got to work on the rest of the shirt. This top was truly the perfect candidate for this technique because the colored stripes each have a black stripe in between them, so the tank top became my coloring book. All I had to do was stay inside the lines. It was great. I also decided to just color in every other pink stripe to start, just in case my fabric marker ran out of red ink. Big brain, I know, but I actually liked the look of that so much I decided to keep it. Even with the pink still present, the red adds such a vibrancy to the color palette, it really transforms the whole shirt. Honestly, the red makes all the other colors look better. Not only is she beautiful, she empowers the other colors too. We love her. Red really is that girl. This video is not sponsored, so I am taking this moment for some shameless self-promo. As many of you may already know, I also have an Etsy shop, and it is full of, I'll say it, adorable illustrations. Like this one, right here, that purple one in the corner, I made that. They're all super affordable, they're available as instant digital downloads, and as this video is going live, the entire shop is 50% off, but only for 2 more days. So if you want to spruce up your home decor or get really ahead of holiday shopping, now's a great time. That's all I'm saying. The shop is linked below. Now back to the thrift flips. Hi friends. Today we are going to try to tackle as many little sewing projects as we can. I have a big free afternoon right now, so we're just gonna try to spend it getting all these clothes actually wearable. First, we are starting with this tank top, which I am about to hem right now, and then we're gonna add a little decorative detail to it. You'll see. Some quick backstory on this tank top, some lore, if you will, is that I actually thrifted it this summer. This is what it looked like. And I did actually crop it already back then, but I didn't think it looked finished yet, and so I had plans to continue and then simply didn't do them. Until now, okay? I've changed. So here is that hemming, finally done, and then the detail I wanted to add was just some little ribbon bows. I actually was just going to do this tiny one at first, but then it occurred to me to add another larger one underneath, and I thought that was just so darn cute, I felt compelled by God herself to sew them both on immediately. Despite the fact that my own hand is blocking my work here, so you cannot see it, This DIY is actually extremely easy to do. You can really add a bow to anything, a top, a skirt, a jacket. All you need is a needle and thread. This way of stitching them on should also be pretty easy to remove eventually if I so choose. I mean, I'm loving the bow trend as much as the next girly, I assure you, but in case I ever do want to switch this back to a plain tank top a few years down the line, I should be able to. And if you want a bow you can take off or on every time you wear the item, you could even just safety pin them on for an even more temporary version of the same look. Our next task for day 2 is more of a repair than a thrift flip. This lace slip has become quite battered by just the turmoil of existence on this plane. There's a big gaping hole and one strap has been attached by safety pin only for months. So I reattached the strap and I sewed the lace back down to close up the hole. Truthfully, lace is difficult to sew. I had to do it by hand, and the fabric the lace is attached to is very frayed at this point. So if any of you know a solution to fraying edges, please help me out in the comments. But for now, at least it is no longer in shambles. The slip is wearable. So in my book, that is a W. Hi, it's a new day. Last night I of course did not get as much finished as I hoped and thought I would, as always happens with DIY projects, but I finished that white tank top and the lace slip, and I pinned this vest. As you can see, I just tried it on and sort of generally guesstimated where I wanted it to come into, and then pinned it that way, tried it on to make sure the fit was how I wanted it, and now all we have to do is sew a straight stitch down each side. Once again, the sewing is pretty straightforward on this one. Look at this little sewing machine go, by the way. So enchanting, so hypnotic, so alluring. Who is she? Oh, I also took in some pants this day. They had literally been sitting in my sewing cupboard for months since I thrifted them, which is embarrassing. But also, that sewing was very simple and boring, so I didn't film it. But I just needed you to know I did it, and I will show them to you later with all the reveals. The next project was this tank top that I originally made myself, and it is just a little too tight. So I wanted to make the back sort of corseted with a ribbon instead of these straps. So first I cut the straps on the back in half, removed them, and then turned those little rectangles of fabric into new little rectangles of fabric. If you want to add this kind of detail to your own top, you could also just cut some of the fabric out of the back, since the back is going to be open anyway, and make it into your own little rectangles. Then, sorry I keep saying rectangles so many times, but to turn those little rectangles into little loops for the ribbon to go into, I just folded the raw seams inside like this, sewed them closed, and then sewed them down, folded in half into loops, 2 on each side of the back of the top. You could do more loops if you wanted to, but I only had 4 rectangles, so 4 loops. It's the same day, but I changed because I got hot. This took me insanely long for how simple it should have been, but my sewing machine kept breaking. But I finally got these little loops on each side of this tank top. Now all I have to do is thread my black ribbon through. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. I'm wearing all black, I'm in the kitchen, you know what that means, baby. We're dyeing something. I want to dye this little tunic top black, which I have never done before, so wish me luck. I am really hoping I don't accidentally stain something. I'm feeling very brave. As you can tell, even by home dyeing standards, this is a very DIY operation we have going here. Here's our dye. I'm pretty much just following these directions, so if you want to know how to do this, follow the directions on the packaging. They will be better than mine. I mentioned in my closet cleanout video that I was hoping to dye this item, and someone in the comments very kindly pointed out that the thread might not dye, which was very helpful to be aware of beforehand because I was okay with it, but the thread did in fact not dye. It stayed the same color. I just wanted to make all of you aware of that possibility if you're doing a similar project, and also say thank you to that viewer. This DIY is dedicated to you. I gotta be real with you all, I just kind of winged this because all the measurements of water and dye and added salt were based on the weight of the garment, and I don't own a scale, so I have no idea how much this garment weighs. Because I was dyeing it black, I knew I could just re-dye it if it turned out too light, so the stakes were low for me. If you're going for a very particular shade, I would not recommend my method. But if you're not, kind of a fun science experiment to see what happens. Before we move on to the last and most exciting project, let me take you back in time. Over a year ago, when I still had bleach blonde hair, as you can see here, I found this raggedy old chair at a rummage sale and decided it would be cute, repainted, and reupholstered. Why this took me a literal year to actually complete, I could not tell you, but here is a quick summary of that journey. My first step after removing the seat was to sand the entire thing. Obviously, this would work better with an electric sander, but all I had was a piece of sandpaper and sheer willpower, and that was enough. Then I had to prime the whole thing so the paint wouldn't soak into the wood. How I changed hair color mid-priming, I truly don't recall, but we got it done. I also sanded the primed layer so the final paint coat would have a smoother texture. After even more time had passed, as shown by the second change in hair color, I actually finally decided on a color for the chair and painted it this limey avocado green. Honestly, at this point it sat like that, painted but without new upholstery, for many months while I hunted for fabric I liked, until finally, quite recently, I happened upon this green and white striped bedsheet at the thrift, grabbed it with intentions of making clothing out of it, but then realized it could go very nicely with this chair, and frankly, I was so sick of looking at the unupholstered chair, so that fabric it was. This chair is honestly mainly to fill space and put stuff on, so a thicker fabric was not necessary. It does not get that much wear. Hello. Today, we're working on the last and probably most exciting project of this video, which is a gift for my lovely friend Kathleen of Kathleen Illustrated. Her birthday is coming up soon, and so I thought it would be so fun to make her a DIY gift, but she is honestly the thrifty DIY queen to rule them all, so the pressure's on. My vision for this project is a patchwork tote bag, but then I also want to add in some little details and bits like ruffles or bows. So here's my little sketch, my vision. Here's my pile of scrap fabrics, all thrifted, that I am hoping to use for this. So let's get started. I began by cutting out squares, honestly very sloppily and haphazardly, because have I ever done things correctly and precisely from the start in my life? No. But after I had these general patches, then I ironed them and trimmed them down to a more precise 4x4 inches and arranged them how I wanted them for each side of the bag. Then for the back side of the tote, I just sewed the squares together, right sides together, into rows of 3, and then sewed those rows of 3 together into a grid of 9. Although I did actually end up adding 3 more squares to each side to make it bigger, you'll see that later, but this was the first side virtually done. For the other side of the tote, you remember from this drawing, I wanted to add some ruffles. So, to start making them, I cut out some long strips of fabric and folded them in half. I also folded the raw edges inside on each short edge and then sewed those edges closed to seal the raw edges inside. Then, to create the ruffle, I sewed a loose straight stitch down the open edge of the folded fabric strip and pulled the bobbin thread from both sides to gather the fabric. I just said that like it was so simple and straightforward, but honestly, with thicker fabric like this, it is difficult and takes forever. So, everyone please commend me for my hard work. Thank you so much. Now to assemble the front side of the bag, I did the same thing as the other side, made 3 rows of 3 squares each, but then when sewing them together, I also sandwiched the ruffle in between the 2 layers of fabric with all the raw hems lined up, so when I sewed a straight stitch to attach the 2 rows together, the ruffle was also attached in that seam. I did the same thing with both ruffles, and voila, the front side is complete, except for, again, the 4th row of squares I added after this. It is much later in the day now. In fact, it is nighttime. I don't know that I'm gonna finish this today, as it turns out, but I'm quite pleased with what I have so far. Here is my little front piece. I think the ruffles turned out pretty nicely. If you don't want the ruffle side, here's the other side with just simple patchwork. So I realized I need a lining for this bag because I don't want the inside to be, you know, full of these visible seams. So my next step is to make a lining, assemble this all in a way that makes sense, and then that of course will also include straps. Okay, I lied. Actually, my next step was to add a little ribbon. I just thought this bag could use one more embellishment, and this little pink ribbon I found in my scrap stash matched the energy perfectly. See, this is maybe the problem with being crafty. It does make you hoard little scraps of textile waste, like you're a mouse stowing dead grasses in your burrow to prepare your winter nest. But the thing is, I do actually end up finding uses for them like this. So, in conclusion, I am entirely justified. I am not accepting feedback at this time. Okay, our last step before making the lining and putting everything together is making straps. And honestly, making straps takes so long, but it is so fucking tedious and boring. So for anyone who does want instructions on making straps like this, I am linking a video in the description, but I am simply going to skip it. Liz can give incomplete directions as a treat sometimes. So let's get to assembly. First, I put together my lining by tracing each side of the bag onto my lining fabric and then sewing those two pieces together, right sides together on 3 sides. Then I also sewed my 2 tote bag pieces together, right sides together on those same 3 sides, making sure to really tuck the ruffles inside so they didn't get sewed down. Now I had my unhemmed bag, my unhemmed lining, and my 4 straps, and I am going to hem everything and attach everything together all at once. And I feel like it's kind of a lot and hard to explain, so I apologize if this gets boring for the next like 30 seconds while I explain this technical bit. Okay, so first I folded over the edges of both my bag and my lining and ironed them down so the hems were already pressed into place and I would just have to sew them down. Then I put the lining inside the bag so the wrong sides of the lining are touching the wrong sides of the bag. And then I pinned each of the 4 straps in place, sandwiched between the outside of the lining and the inside of the bag. So when I sewed a straight stitch around the opening of the bag, it attached the lining to the exterior, it hemmed the lining and the exterior and hid that raw edge, and it attached the straps while hiding the straps ends in between those 2 layers of fabric as well. That one straight stitch around the mouth of the bag accomplished all that at once. Can you believe that's engineering? I am a woman in STEM for that, honestly. And with that, all 10 projects were finished. Thank God I can finally show them to you. I'm so excited. First up, our floral graphic tee. I am so pleased with this one. I just think the whole composition looks so much better this way. There's more contrast, more balance, a more distinct color palette. Honestly, it's making me want to do even more to improve this graphic, but also I am very pleased with how it's looking now. I'll definitely be more likely to wear it. Next up, our striped tank top. I feel the same way about this one, but even more so. I am so in love with how this looks now. I am so excited to finally wear it. Yes, it is the end of October, but it's 80 degrees today in Maryland, so I will definitely still have time to wear this, and I am looking forward to it. It feels so much more me this way. Next up, we have this textured white tank top, and once again, not to frickin' brag, but I also love this one. I have so many just plain basic tank tops, so I am so excited to now have one with such a fun, delicate little detail. I just love what it adds to this shirt, what it will add to an outfit, and in fact, I have already worn it since finishing it. Next, we have our lace slip, finally restored to her former glory. Obviously, the overall look of this is like the same, that's sort of the point, but I am very happy to have this item back in my wearable closet rotation. Project number 5 is this purple vest that was just a bit too wide. Again, this is a small adjustment, but I love how it fits now. It still has a bit of room, but it is much more proportionate to me, and I could even actually wear this just as a top now too, which is an exciting prospect, makes it even more versatile in my closet. Oh, here are those pants I took in. You literally have not seen these yet in this entire video, but I did also alter these this week, so now you have to look at them. Real ones will remember when I thrifted these literally like 6 months ago. I am so happy to finally actually have them in my wardrobe for fall instead of my craft cupboard. Now we have our black corset tank top, yet another great success. I absolutely love this. I think it looks so cool and so good. The lace-up back is just such a great elevated detail, and most importantly, the fit is way better this way. Also, with this lace-up style, this could really be adjusted to a wide range of sizes, so I highly recommend this for resizing any of your own clothes. Next up, we have this tunic top, which was a bit of a twist because when I was rinsing the shirt, the dye rinsing out was fully green. Yet somehow, this item came out purple. I'm a little confused by that, but I'm not mad at it. I do think the dye job looks super even, so that's great. I also do not mind that the thread didn't dye. I love contrast stitching, so I think it looks cool. I think I may try re-dyeing this with black again to get to the color I want, but I might play around with styling it in this purple version first. It feels quite autumnal, and it's still an improvement to me from the color it was before. Next is our old rummage sale chair featuring an ancient before shot from a full year ago, and here is the after, looking much more lively and refreshed with some bright green paints and this darker green striped cushion. I love how much brighter and fresher this looks while still keeping some classic traditional charm in the actual shape of the chair and the striped pattern. Yeah, this has been serving as a great little accent chair in our very eclectic living room. And finally, the project you've all been waiting for, this glorious patchwork tote bag. I am so freaking proud of this thing. I love the patchwork, I love the ruffles, the ribbon that can be tied in a bow or left just dangling down. I'm so proud of the lining. I mean, the bag definitely isn't perfect, everything isn't perfectly aligned and precisely stitched, but the design is sort of a DIY aesthetic anyway, so I think it still works. And I realized by having these 4 tieable straps, this of course works as a tote bag, but you can also tie 2 straps together on the very end and wear it as a crossbody bag, or tie all the straps much closer to the base and use it more as a handbag. I think this convertible design is so freaking cool, and I think the crossbody styling is actually my favorite. Kathleen, if you're watching this, I hope you love it, and I hope this gave you some inspo on different ways to wear this bag.
I'm honestly so proud of myself for getting this many projects done in a week, and I would love to know which one is your favorite. And of course, I did not complete every item in my thrift flip pile, so if you want to see more, let me know. Also, there have been plenty more already, so let me direct you to my thrift flips playlist if you are interested. Don't forget to check out my Etsy shop, and if you leave a comment, watch another video like one of these, and subscribe to my channel. I heard someone will make you a patchwork tote for your birthday.